Back in 2004, when Gordon Ramsay first appeared on television with Kitchen Nightmares in the UK, few people could have predicted what was about to happen. Ramsay was already well known in the food world, but his leap to television introduced millions of people to a chef unlike any other. The show's idea was simple: take a failing restaurant, place Ramsay in the middle of the chaos, and watch as he tried to turn the business around with his sharp tongue, fiery temper, and undeniable expertise. What made the show stand out was not only the food transformations, but the way Ramsay handled people. He wasn't afraid to call out laziness, dishonesty, or poor management right in front of the cameras. Viewers loved the raw honesty, the drama, and the hope that these restaurants might succeed after receiving his help. When the show crossed over to the United States in 2007, it became even bigger. Millions of Americans tuned in each week to see Ramsay tear apart terrible dishes, argue with stubborn owners, and rebuild businesses. Awards, high ratings, and endless publicity followed. On the surface, Kitchen Nightmares was unstoppable, but beneath the success, trouble was slowly building. As the seasons went by, Ramsay began to see something the audience could not. While the episodes showed dramatic improvements and emotional moments of change, the reality was much darker. Most of the restaurants that appeared on the show still ended up failing after the cameras left. According to reports, nearly 82% of the American restaurants featured on Kitchen Nightmares eventually closed their doors. For Ramsay, who prided himself on excellence and high standards, this statistic was not just disappointing, but heartbreaking. Every time another restaurant failed, it felt like his efforts were wasted, and his reputation was at risk. It was not that Ramsay wasn't doing his job. He gave these restaurants new menus, training, staff management tips, and complete makeovers. The problem was that many owners simply could not change. Some were inexperienced, others were stubborn, and many were dealing with personal or financial issues far bigger than a TV show could solve. Ramsay was carrying the emotional weight of these repeated failures, and the constant battle started to take a toll on both his health and his passion for the show. What audiences often missed was how much personal stress Ramsay faced while filming. He wasn't just arguing with owners and tasting bad food for fun. He was risking his health in environments where poor hygiene, spoiled ingredients, and dangerous kitchen practices were common. Ramsay has admitted that he suffered food poisoning multiple times while filming. Imagine being forced to eat meals from failing restaurants, some with unclean kitchens or expired products, just for the sake of the show. That was Ramsay's reality. Over time, this made him dread certain filming experiences. The thrill of helping struggling restaurants was replaced with anxiety and frustration. He also noticed how many owners acted one way for the cameras, pretending to care about change, only to go back to old habits once filming ended. This hypocrisy clashed with Ramsay's values. For a chef who had built his empire on discipline and integrity, watching people throw away his hard work was infuriating. Ramsay began asking himself whether all this effort was worth it if the restaurants were doomed to fail anyway. This inner conflict set the stage for his eventual breaking point. By 2014, Ramsay had seen almost everything when it came to restaurant owners. He had dealt with delusional chefs, lazy managers, and clueless staff. But one experience in particular changed everything. It happened at a remote ski resort in southern France, where Ramsay was brought in to help a restaurant owned by a British man. On paper, it looked like a typical case: poor service, bad food, failing business. But Ramsay soon discovered this owner wasn't simply struggling. He was deliberately taking advantage of his customers. Because guests at the ski resort had few dining options, the owner felt no pressure to serve quality meals. He knowingly charged high prices for low-quality food, showing no care for customers. When Ramsay tried to step in with advice, the owner resisted completely. He wasn't interested in changing, and he treated Ramsay's help as nothing more than free publicity. This insult went against everything Ramsay stood for. He realized he was wasting his time on people who didn't even want to improve. After a week of frustration, Ramsay woke up one morning and decided he was finished. Not just finished with that restaurant, but finished with Kitchen Nightmares as a whole. This was the breaking point that led him to walk away from one of the most popular shows on television. When Ramsay made his decision, it shocked everyone in the industry. Kitchen Nightmares was still successful, ratings were strong, and Fox Broadcasting Company had no plans to end it. But Ramsay didn't wait for the network to decide. He personally called Fox and told them he was done. Executives were stunned. Usually, networks cancel shows when ratings drop, not when the star voluntarily walks away from a hit. They tried to convince Ramsay to stay, offering breaks between seasons, fewer episodes, or even changes to the format. But Ramsay's mind was made up. For him, the problem wasn't the workload or the pressure of filming. It was the futility of trying to help restaurants that didn't want to be helped. Without Ramsay, the show simply couldn't exist. He was the face, the voice, and the driving force behind its success. By canceling the show himself, Ramsay took control of the situation, but it came at a cost. Fans were heartbroken, and for Ramsay, it left an empty space that even he didn't fully know how to fill at the time. After Kitchen Nightmares ended, Fox didn't want to lose such a powerful brand. In 2018, they launched 24 Hours to Hell and Back, another restaurant rescue show with Ramsay at the center. The idea was to avoid the problems that had led to the cancellation of Kitchen Nightmares. Instead of spending a week at a restaurant, Ramsay had only 24 hours to fix everything. The show also featured him going undercover to see the real issues before revealing his identity. At first, fans were curious, and the show attracted attention. But the excitement faded quickly. Viewers complained that the format felt rushed and scripted. Without the deeper storytelling and long-term changes, the rescues seemed less believable. Critics said it was a poor substitute for Kitchen Nightmares. By its third season, ratings had dropped significantly, and the show was quietly canceled in 2020. This failure proved how unique Kitchen Nightmares had been, and how hard it was to replicate its raw energy and authenticity. Ramsay's frustration with the restaurant rescue concept continued, and it seemed like the era of Kitchen Nightmares was over for good. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic, which changed everything. Restaurants around the world suffered devastating losses. Businesses that had been strong for decades suddenly faced closure because of lockdowns and restrictions. According to reports, the U.S. had 10% fewer restaurants operating in 2023 compared to before the pandemic. For Ramsay, this crisis reignited something inside him. Unlike before, the restaurants struggling now weren't just run by lazy or careless owners. Many were hardworking families and passionate chefs who had been blindsided by circumstances beyond their control. This reminded Ramsay of the original purpose of Kitchen Nightmares: to save good restaurants in trouble. The difference this time was that owners were more willing to change, more open to guidance, and more desperate for help. Ramsay saw a new opportunity to bring back Kitchen Nightmares with a fresh approach, focusing on restaurants worth saving. The cultural moment was perfect. Audiences were more sympathetic, and Ramsay had gained new wisdom from years of reflection. In September 2023, after nearly a decade off the air, Kitchen Nightmares returned. This wasn't just a reboot, but a reinvention. Ramsay and the producers shifted focus away from incompetent owners and instead chose restaurants that had potential, but were hit hard by the pandemic or other challenges. The atmosphere felt less hostile and more collaborative. Ramsay was still direct, still demanding, but less explosive than before. He had matured, and so had the show. Viewers immediately noticed the difference. The new season was praised for being more genuine, with less manufactured drama and more real problem-solving. Owners appeared grateful for Ramsay's help, and the transformations felt more sustainable. For fans, it was a return to what they loved about the show: hope, passion, and powerful turnarounds. For Ramsay, it was a chance to reconnect with the mission that had started it all, while avoiding the frustrations that had burned him out in 2014. Now, at 58, Gordon Ramsay has revealed the full truth about why Kitchen Nightmares ended. The French ski resort incident may have been the final straw, but the deeper reason was the flaw in the format itself. 1 week of filming could not fix deep problems that had been years in the making. The failure rate of restaurants proved that TV makeovers, no matter how dramatic, weren't enough to save most businesses. Ramsay also admitted that the show was hurting his own brand. Every failed restaurant reflected poorly on him, even though the failures weren't his fault. Protecting his integrity as a chef and businessman meant walking away, even when the show was still popular. To understand why Kitchen Nightmares mattered so much, we need to look at Gordon Ramsay beyond the cameras. Ramsay's fiery personality wasn't just an act. He grew up fighting through hardship. Born in Scotland and raised in England, he lived in a tough household with a father who struggled with alcoholism and violence. Ramsay escaped into sports and almost became a professional footballer before an injury ended that dream. Cooking became his second chance at life, and he poured everything into it. Under the mentorship of world-class chefs like Marco Pierre White and Guy Savoy, Ramsay learned discipline, perfectionism, and the value of hard work. By the time he earned Michelin stars for his own restaurants, he had built a reputation as one of the most demanding chefs alive. That intensity carried into television. When viewers saw Ramsay screaming at a chef for serving raw chicken or rotten fish, it wasn't for drama. It was his real, lifelong standard of excellence. For him, serving bad food was not just careless, it was dangerous and disrespectful to customers. This passion explains why Kitchen Nightmares worked so well. People believed in Ramsay's honesty because it came from a lifetime of fighting against failure, both in the kitchen and in life. When Kitchen Nightmares first aired, it wasn't just entertainment. It changed how people looked at restaurants. For the first time, ordinary viewers saw what really happened behind the kitchen doors. They saw moldy refrigerators, expired meat, careless managers, and staff who lacked training. Customers who once trusted restaurants blindly began to think twice. Health inspectors even credited shows like Kitchen Nightmares for raising awareness about food safety. But beyond hygiene, the show also revealed the human side of running a restaurant. Audiences saw how family disputes, financial problems, and personal struggles could destroy a business. Many viewers related to the owners, even if they were stubborn or flawed, because everyone knows how hard it is to survive in a competitive world. On the flip side, Ramsay's blunt honesty sparked debate. Some critics argued that his shouting humiliated owners unnecessarily, while others believed it was the only way to cut through their denial. Either way, the show left a mark. It influenced later series like Bar Rescue and Restaurant Impossible, proving that Ramsay had changed television forever. Even today, clips from old episodes still go viral online, reminding us of how unforgettable his outbursts and restaurant rescues were. While fans saw drama and transformation, the production crew often dealt with chaos that never made it on screen. Filming Kitchen Nightmares was exhausting. Each episode meant days of shooting in stressful environments. Staff were nervous, owners were emotional, and customers sometimes staged reactions because they knew cameras were rolling. Producers had to balance telling a compelling story while staying true to reality, and this often created tension. Some owners later accused the show of exaggerating problems for drama, while Ramsay defended the authenticity, saying the mess was usually worse than what viewers saw. There were even lawsuits from restaurant owners who felt misrepresented. These legal battles added more stress to Ramsay's life. For him, the show wasn't just about shouting in kitchens. It involved lawyers, editors, and constant media pressure. Behind-the-scenes staff also admitted that Ramsay was not always the monster he seemed. Off-camera, he often encouraged owners gently, shared personal stories, and even cooked for them when the cameras stopped rolling. The contrast between the fiery on-screen persona and the supportive mentor behind the scenes made Ramsay more complex than many fans realized. When Ramsay canceled Kitchen Nightmares, fans didn't just feel disappointed, they felt betrayed. Online forums exploded with anger and sadness. Many argued that the show wasn't just entertainment but an education in food and business. Viewers had learned about cross-contamination, portion control, menu planning, and customer service. Some fans even admitted that Ramsay's lessons inspired them to start their own food businesses. The absence of the show created a gap in television that other programs struggled to fill. Even Ramsay's own 24 Hours to Hell and Back didn't feel the same. The original Kitchen Nightmares had a rawness, a balance of drama and hope that fans craved. When the reboot was announced in 2023, social media buzzed with excitement. Longtime fans welcomed Ramsay back, while younger audiences discovered him for the first time through streaming platforms and viral TikTok clips. The show had not only survived its cancellation, but had become a cultural classic, remembered and quoted long after its original run. This legacy proves that Kitchen Nightmares was more than just a reality show. It was a phenomenon that shaped how people think about food, television, and accountability. Although Kitchen Nightmares remains one of Ramsay's most famous shows, it is only one piece of his massive empire. Over the years, Ramsay has built more than 50 restaurants worldwide, earned 16 Michelin stars in his career, and launched multiple TV series including Hell's Kitchen, MasterChef, and Next Level Chef. Each show highlights a different side of him, from the terrifying drill sergeant in Hell's Kitchen to the supportive mentor in MasterChef Jr. What connects them all is Ramsay's obsession with standards and respect for food. His global brand